Hi, Nicholas here. Welcome to the Akousunesis method. So on my YouTube channel, if you just head over to my website, so that's just the link up here. And then you'll go on the main menu here. We've got courses, John Thompson. So we're doing today exercise 4, traffic cop. So let's have a look at this. All right, it's having a quick look at the notation. It's pretty basic. So this line here is the same as this line, right? So that's good to know. This line here is similar. It's the same except when we get to here where we end up on a C over here, right? And we're G there. So I can't see any other differences, all right? So really there's only 2 lines to know. Now, we're never going to use notation as a crutch. We're going to learn in a new way. We're not going to focus on the timing, right? We're going to let that come naturally, right? Now, if you look at this piece of music, so we've got a few concepts we're going to introduce in this, a couple of concepts. One of a slash chord and 2 of chord ambiguity. If you look here, right, so it's just for the first bar. We've really only got 2 notes, right? So we've got the C there and the E. Now, so we've got to decide on a chord. Well, we've got a C in it, so it could be the C major. It's got the major 3rd, so that's looking good, right? You could even choose an E minor, right? There's E minor, okay, with a +5 in it. But it's in the key of C, and it's a happy beginning, traffic cop, traffic cop. So it's going to start on the Ionian mode, right? And so we're going to choose C. We're going to choose the chord C, right? Now, if you look here on the second, so that's the first bar, right? So we've written it down here, right? So this is the usual where we break the song down completely with both right and left hands. So there's the right hand. There's the left. So we saw all this on last lesson. And then we're going to move down to just showing, we're going to get rid of the bass line. So we're going to actually get rid of a bit of detail, right? Because here we have the bass line. We have, like, for instance, the 7 here, right? Which is the notes here, right? So these notes here, so the detail in the bass. Now, the detail in the bass is just harmonising. We're offering some harmonisation in the left hands. So that's the first thing we can give up when we're just trying to learn the melody, right, and get the structure of the song going, okay? The structure of the song is going. These are going to help us. So the song skeleton is going to gives you an outline of where the song's going. We want to get to a point where we just can just see the chords and we have the song. Now, this, of course, is an easy song, but you can make it as complex as you like and add as much improvisation as you like, because we're going to get to the point where we're improvising as well, right? So here we have the score. This is probably where you're going to work off mostly, especially when you're new to this method. So this has the chord. It's got a fair bit of information. We've got the chord. We've got the bass note, right? So it's a slash chord, means we just play a different note at the bass. So it's telling you the chord and what note we're playing at the bass, okay? So in this case, we've got the E at the bass and we've got the C chord, right? And it's got the words, traffic cop, and it's got the intervals, right? So if we're on C and we're on a 3-3-1, well, there's a C, 3-3-1, 3-3-1, so 3-3-1, and then we've got that at the E at the bass. Now, the first thing you want to, if you're trying to learn the song and you're finding, say, E at the bass is a bit hard, if you're trying to get used to a C, one of the techniques we do is we lift off notes. So I showed you, I think, in the first song composition where we lift off notes. We play every note, right? So if we've got the chord C, what we do, we're going to get to looking at this piece of music, but so we look at the C, right? So this is the first chord, and we're just scanning every single note. So a C, we've got so we got the 1, 3, 5, right? The E and the G. But we're going to be thinking more of intervals rather than notes. Of course, you're going to know the notes as well. You're going to make an association between the intervals and the notes, right? 1, 3, 5. And then you're just going to scan the keyboard and just up and down. And you just play those notes with your fingers. Now, it doesn't really matter at this stage when we're just improvising like that where to put our fingers. But when we're doing an exercise like this, right, the fingers everything is shown here. Now, the fingers with this exercise, as the same as the last two, they don't move from this position. So the first thing that will go is our fingers. We won't need to know where the fingers are, so they disappear when we come to the score with the left hand. There's no fingers there because we know the fingers, right, don't move from this location, right? So we're gonna. Where will we start? So we don't want to look at this and play, right? You know, although people get used to reading sheet notation, and that's fine. But we want to start here and then quickly move to here. So let's just have a look at this. So we got here is our hand placement, right, middle, thumb. So right hand. So over the chord C, we got the right hand, and then we got middle, thumb, thumb, right? And then what's the left hand doing? The left hand's just doing a 1, 3, 3, like that. 1, 3, 3, right? So we're just 1, 3, 3, right? So where the left hand is, well, first it's the right hand, right? 1, 1, 3, 3. Right? Now what we want to do is, once we work this out, we don't want to look here, because when you're looking there, it's hard, and especially if you're going to even try to get timing right, it's going to slow you down. So what we want to do is, we want to go, all right, we looked down, we went 3, 3, 1. So we're going 3, 3. Okay, so we'll just stop there and we go 3, 3, like that. So I'm looking down now right out of my hands, and I'm just putting in my memory. So I'm putting it into my memory what I'm doing with my fingers. So no longer relying on that visual, because that's going to slow you down. So we're trying to now learn what we're doing with our hands. We're looking down and we're just going. And what also we're doing is we're listening, right? So we're letting our brain remember the melodic rhythm. And when we learn with this method here, right? You're learning with the rhythm with the left and right hand, which is a bit of a big step for when you're just starting out. Really what you want to do is you just want to hear that bass note. This is really the melody, right? Traffic cop. But the left hand now, when we add that 3, 3 down there, right? We're just traffic cop. We're just adding a rhythm, right? Left hand rhythm, right? But if you're trying to do too much, when you're learning for the first time and you're trying to do too much at one time, and that's what really slows you down, right? You're trying to get everything right. So the best approach is to reduce the amount of information, and with the left hand, that's why we come to this point here, right? And then you can add in this. We can come back to this. So we can start here even. Now here is less information, but we have enough information to do the whole song. So we've got traffic cop. So or traffic go, traffic stop. Traffic go, traffic stop, right? So that's the first line there. And we've got the E, so we've got the bass note, right? So we know what the bass is doing at the chord change. Okay, so it's at the beginning. It's just see. There's C there. There's no bass information, but we know what the bass is. It's the 1. So whenever you see the chord, it's the root of the chord, unless it's otherwise specified as something else, and that could be any note. And it doesn't have to be a note within the chord. It can be any note you like, right? So traffic cop. What I kept on saying, traffic cop. Traffic, go, traffic, stop. And then let's have a look here. Let's have a look now here with the F, right? So F6, we look down, traffic, car, traffic, go, traffic, stop. Traffic, go, traffic, stop. And then here we have a 6. Have a look here. There's the 5, there's the 6, right? Almost hit the traffic cop. Now, the piece of music, right, we'll talk about this in a second, right? But let's go back to the F. So with the F, right, we have the 6 here, right, on the F. Now, you see that the 6 on the G and the F and the G is just slid up. So you create, that's like a memory association you can make. So you look down and go, oh, the flow's just going up. So you go, almost hit the, and you take it slow. And when you start singing as well, you create this other memory association in your head. Almost hit the traffic. So when we're here on the C, traffic cop. Now I put, with this chord here, right? If you go and have a look at the sheet music, okay, all you have are 2 notes, right? You've got an E down here and you've got a high G. So your choice of chords could have been a few things. You could have chosen C, right? If I chose C, it would have been very resolving coming back to the first of the key, right? But the song continues. So I said, all right, maybe I don't want to bring it to the first of the song. So this is where the modes and the feels come into it. You want to get a feel for where you want that bar to end up. And that bar is going to end up, if it ends up on C, it's sort of like ending. But because it's a high up here, right, it's a lift. It's lifting up. It's like it wants to go somewhere. Right? If you noticed, it's the highest note on the whole melody, right? The G is the highest note on the whole melody. So it's saying when you go higher, it's a lighter, brighter feel when you're going up. When you're going down, it's more of a sadder, darker feel, right? So as you go up, it's saying that the piece is going to continue. It's going to say, "Oh, I'm not coming home anywhere," right? And it's not coming home to a 1. It could rise and finish on, say, the C again to the 1. And that's a sound of coming home too. Even though it's rising, it's still coming home. But, so what chord are we going to choose? We could have chose E minor. We've got a G there. We've got an E. That's almost telling you that's E minor. But this song is very happy. So do I really want an E minor there? So we could say, like, let's go back to just this bit here. All right. We do have E at the bass right there, cop. So, so traffic cop, almost hit the traffic cop. It would have worked, E minor would have worked. It's sort of still wanting more, right? And I don't know, I sort of like that, but I also like this. I like the G as well. So I'll go, I could go like traffic cop, almost hit the traffic cop. Now, if you choose G, you've really lifting it up and kept it happy. You've kept the song a bit happy, and not only are you on a major chord, right? You're on the 1 of the major chord, which is very happy. It's a happy, right? So it's where you want to take the song. You might have liked the E minor was a bit sad, or I don't think the C. I didn't like the C. Anyway, the next line is the same as the first line. So if you've gone this far with the song, you've learnt the next one. When I'm grown, I shall be. And this is where we can start to add the second hand in. So once we know the first, like traffic car, because there's a pause, right? because you like the melody. So you focus now on the melody and you haven't focused on the left hand except the bass note, right? That's all you're focused on. So you're concentrating on the words, you're looking down, you're trying to stop that visual crutch, right? And you're trying to get your ear to take over the work, and you want to hear the melody of the song, right? So traffic cop. And then that's when we start to, when we have a pause in the right hand, right? We can do things with our left hand to not make it, to give yourself space, right? So you pause on the right. Traffic cop, traffic cop. Yeah, that's when we can start to add in the bass. So this here is probably the better place to actually start. Maybe with my next lesson, I'll work, I show you this so you can work it out, because at first you're just working where all your fingers are. But maybe with the next lesson, I will just do the progression. So I'm trying to improve these lessons so they can help you as best I can. But I'm not getting any feedback. I'm not getting anyone speaking in the comments or anything. And I'm not sure how many people are watching them, and I'm not even sure if the views are real. So it would be nice to get some feedback. But so I can make these videos the best possible videos I can possibly make. Anyway, let's have a look at the song skeleton, and then we'll just have a look at the some exercises we can do that just help us with our finger mobility. We could even come down and start on the exercises. So there's different approaches or whatever works for you. But the song skeleton is an awesome tool. It's an improvisation tool. So we can see that we have the chord C, and all we have is. So it's showing you the direction of the song without any detail, right? So do, 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 or E on the bottom there. I actually don't like the E there. I would have kept it completely G because I like that lifting. So if I were to work with this, I would have removed that and just kept the G. And then you can start to do, roar with your left hand. Traffic cop. Let's do that. Traffic cop. Almost hit the traffic cop. And here too, I would have just put that to a C. I wouldn't have resolved it to an E. I mean, the piece does that. It's where is it? There. So it ends on the bass, right? On the E here, okay. On the E. But I would have just put it right home, brought it right home, But anyway, that's okay. Let's just have a look at. So that song skeletons are very useful. And now you can start to. You're playing in your head, you're listening to the song in your head, and you're not concentrating to get something right. When you're looking at sheet music, you're concentrating to get it right, and that slows you down. And that's like when you're learning, especially if you're young and a kid, and you're trying to. And I remember this as a kid, trying to get things right because they just got this stupid notation in your face, right? And it's just not good. It's gonna slow you down. I do think it's a conspiracy. But anyway, I'm not going to go into that. But let's have a look here. So we have the finger placement exercises now. So they're just going to get your fingers moving. You could even start with these too. It's up to you which one you want to start with. But so let's have a look again. So everything's referenced to the Ionian, right? So we don't have any other chords. It's just a mode here, right? So we're playing this pattern over starting on the note C, okay? So we've got right hand, middle 3. So it's just 3, 3, 1. So it's play 3, 3, and then down to the 1, thumb on 1, then back up to the 3, 3, back down to the thumb on 1. So it's just the melody. And that equals just means play both at the same time. So, So that's that first exercise. So that's just that. What I've done here, when you see two ones like this together, That means just when you see them separated like that, it just means that there's the timing's sort of more paused, more on beat. And this more means play them faster, that's all. I don't have any exact timing here because remember we're not going to be concentrated. We're going to let that come naturally. But it just gives you an outline. Now, we're not to use this as a crutch and look at it as a crutch. Again, we use these exercises to work out our fingers, right, what we're doing. Then we look at our fingers and we're actually practicing to hear, to listen, and also exercising our memory to memorize rather than relying on some crutch. And anything can be a crutch. Even chord charts, even this stuff can be a crutch. I mean, but sometimes this is less of a crutch. Like the song skeleton is the least crutch because it's hardly got any information there, right? So you want to reduce the crutches because you want your memory to take over and you want your ear to take over. So what your ear hears, how it works is your ear hears the melody, right, of a song, and we remember that. And what our hand does, our right hand, right, our right hand knows from the melody how far to go up and how far to go down to hit the note. So in other words, the melodic interval series, not the harmonic interval series that we're learning to read, that becomes a backup. So when we're learning like a 3 down there, okay, we're learning 3, 3, 1. That's good. That's a harmonic interval series because it's based on it's an interval on a bass note based on you have a bass note. A melodic interval series is going from 1 is like the tone, tone, semitone, going from the previous note to the next note. So a melody might go up, a tone and a half. It might go up a semitone, might go up another tone. The semitone down, up, come down, a tone and a half. That type of thing. So that's a melodic interval series. But that's what our ear and our hand, when you're reading a melody, your hand moves to the melodic interval series, right? But the harmonic interval series, so that's more of an unconscious thing that happens. That's an unconscious thing. The conscious thing that happens to train us to get to that point, to let the subconscious take over. The conscious thing is when we're going 3, 3, 1, and we're using our understanding now, 3, 3, 1, 3, 3, 1. But at the same time, our brain is listening for the melody with that 3, 3, 1, and it's also associating not only that it's a 3 in terms of a bass note, it's coming down 2 tones. And it's remembering it's coming down 2 tones, going back up 2 tones, right? But we don't focus on saying, I go up 2 tones, I come down, because that's too confusing to actually follow. It's very hard to follow something that's going like 2 tones up, 1 tone down, 3 tones up, 4 tones down, 1 tone, that's hard to follow. But when you have a reference point, like a bass note, and then it's easier to follow, okay, I'm on this chord, memory association, I'm on the bass note of the chord, I'm on a 3, 4, 5. It's easy to remember a pattern over a chord, right, and put that as a block of memory in your head and then have another pattern over another chord. And then what happens is your brain starts to developing recognizing the patterns. Okay, so you listen to something and you go, oh, that's a 3, 2, 1 pattern, oh, that's a 5, 3, 4 pattern or whatever. But your hand knows what to do. Once your brain has recognised that pattern, your hand knows how to flow over that pattern. And these are things you just get better and better at. But you go through this process. And by reading notation and having a crutch and trying to learn from notation, you'll never get there, right? You have to go through this process. This is a systematic process to get there. Another good way to do it, and which you'll find a lot of musicians who play by ear have done it, this other approach, is just to listen to the music, which we do in our approach as well. Is just to listen to the music and work it out. Listen, go, oh, what's it doing? And then through trial and error, eventually they're just training their hand to do exactly what we're doing with this method, is to let your hands flow up and down, right, with a melodic interval series. But they're doing it like that. This is going to get you there faster because this is a systematic approach to get you from A to B. We want to get you playing by ear as fast as we can without you having to work for 10 years to do it. through trial and error, through listening, and then. But that listening and doing it is very good. It's a very good, but all you want to do with that is just put some understanding to it. Right? That's why we use Chordify a lot in this. When we go through the song analysis, we go to Chordify, we listen to the song, then we work it out. We listen. That process of listening and working out, it just takes you from step to step. It really increases that ear, right? Hearing, then working it is fantastic memory association you can make, right? And this system here, so we're just adding a bit more to it. We're bringing it all together. Anyway, back to this. So we're up to here. So the doubling here, right, is just saying, so all that one there is going right thumb 1, 1. So we're starting on the 1. So we've got away from that melody, right? Now I'm looking there, right, and going, okay, I've worked it out. Now what I'm doing is I'm listening for the direction. So it's going do, 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 do. All right? So we're listening to that flow. So and then we can look at a hand as another memory association. It's going up, then going back down, then going up. So it's going up, down, and up. And then in reverse. So what this means here, this symbol here, means, so we're starting on the note C, right? We're in the Ionian mode, although we can, that's just a reference for our intervals, okay? We can, with the exercises can come out of the Ionian mode. They can go anywhere they want, right? Okay? That's like the reference point. So this means going up. So when you're going up, these arrows, they have meaning, right? Because they're telling you the direction for when you're going up. But when you're coming down, you're looking from right to left, right? So you're going 5, 5, 3, 3, 1, 1, 3, 3, 1, 1. But these arrows, when coming down, they're the opposite. They don't have any meaning, or they're just the opposite meaning. But that's fine, because once we know it going up, it's just a mirrored coming down. Right? So, and we just practice that. And then, so that's with the right hand. And the left hand is the same. And then we can do it together. I don't have an equal sign here, but if I did, it means do it together. But you can always do patterns which are the same together. Okay, and just the last two here. So these, and this one here, it's just the same as the melody here. So it's the third line and the fourth line. Okay, so yeah, I do that all the time with these exercises. The very first exercise for the line is just going to be the song. It's just broken down in an exercise, finger placement exercise. All right, I think this video's gone on long enough, so I try to keep them. It doesn't really matter, but I'll keep them at half an hour, or if they go on longer, it doesn't matter. But anyway, that's it. And I'll see you in the next exercise, which whatever's next. I don't know what's next actually, but I'm just following the book. I think there's about 80. I don't know how many there are. I think there's around 80. Maybe not that many. I don't know if I'm going to get up to 80 videos on the John Thomas Grade 1, but we'll see how we go. All right then. Thanks. See you next time. Bye.